This is huge. The first positive news for crypto all year. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. In the Fed meeting last week, they gave a timeline for when Bitcoin and crypto are going to bottom. But most people miss the hidden detail. The best part is you don't need to be an economist or know a ton about macro to figure it out. I'll show you why the most recent Fed meeting just changed everything and how you can use the previous market cycle to time the bottom this time. All right, so you guys should know, I'm not the person that tells you the bottom is in every single week and coins that are going to 100x. I like to shoot it straight and give you information that's going to help you. We had a Fed meeting last week, and these happen all the time. The Fed gets together and gives their policy. They talk about inflation, and a lot of times it's just Jerome Powell doing Fed speak. Basically him saying a lot of big words, but not really saying anything at all. The best approach all year in 2022 has been to ignore these meetings because inflation has stayed ridiculously high, interest rates kept rising, and when the macro's bad, everything just sells off. But last week it got interesting. They finally announced plans for smaller interest rate hikes starting this month in December of 2022. And don't worry, if you're wondering how this helps you time the bottom or you don't understand interest rates or the Fed or macro, I'll explain it in pretty simple terms. We can use the previous market cycle as a really good guide for how this likely plays out. So flashback to last year, 2021, we're still peak bull market. You have Bitcoin ripping to new all-time highs, Ethereum is up, every altcoin is pumping, stocks are hitting new all-time highs all the time. They were printing money nonstop, they were giving us stimulus checks, and interest rates were low. When the macro conditions are helpful, not too many people focus on macro because the price is going up. But here's the hidden detail that I think a lot of people forget. When Bitcoin topped at 69K in November, that's not when the Fed started raising rates. They actually hadn't changed their tune yet. In November of last year is when we started to see inflation data coming in high, and so smart investors were preparing and anticipating that the Fed policy was going to change and that the macro conditions were going to get worse. The Fed didn't start raising rates until early 2022, but prices had already been trending down for about 3 or 4 months. So here's a quick timeline. 2021, macro conditions were good, prices were going up. Bitcoin peaks at 69K in November, but the Fed hadn't started raising rates. It was just inflation data coming out. Price starts trending down for 3 or 4 months, and then the Fed starts raising rates. So the key takeaway there is the trend changed and the market topped before the Fed actually changed their tune. Markets are forward-looking. You have traders, speculators, investors. Everyone's trying to price in what they expect the future to look like. Smart investors can anticipate what the future is going to look like in the next 3 to 6 months, and they act today based on what that future prediction is. When inflation data started coming in high in November, they anticipated that the Fed was going to start raising rates, so the market tops, and they get positioned 3 or 4 months ahead of time. They can sell before prices go lower. Fast forward to today. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said they plan to start doing smaller interest rate hikes in December of 2022. The market is also predicting that interest rate hikes are going to stop sometime around May of 2023, so in about 6 months. Now that we have a timeline and the Fed has made clear that they plan to start doing smaller interest rate hikes and eventually stop the interest rate hikes, plus we know that markets are forward-looking, this means I expect Bitcoin to bottom sometime between today and March of next year. That's in the next 1 to 3 months. And when you think about it, that's not a ridiculous prediction. That's the exact same thing that happened in the previous market cycle. We're just trending the other way now. I'm much less worried about getting the exact day or week or month correct. If you can buy anywhere near the bottom, you're going to do pretty damn well next year. The exact same way anyone that sold near the top, 50K, 60K, 40K, is pretty happy with the chance to buy Bitcoin now right around 16K. So this news from Jerome Powell is huge, and it flew under the radar for a lot of people, I think because they're too focused still on the collapse of FTX and focusing on whether or not Sam Bankman-Fried is going to go to jail. That stuff doesn't matter anymore. That's what's happening today and what happened in the past. What's far more helpful is to think about what the next 3 to 6 months look like. Now that we have our timeline and you know the hidden detail, markets are forward-looking. I think there's a huge opportunity in getting positioned and starting to buy before the rate hikes stop. That's anytime between today and May of next year. But I actually think the bottom is likely between December and March of next year. So these next couple months are pretty damn exciting if things play out like I think they will, and if it looks anything like the previous market reversal. If you guys enjoyed this or learned anything, drop a like right down below and remember to subscribe. I'm excited to get back to normal updates and some podcast episodes with the smartest investors and traders I can find. I'm going to ask them what they're buying. Drop a comment down below. I'm curious what you guys are looking at. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.